Hello, and of course, welcome back to VBS Show. Great apologies. We've had some sounding problems there. I'm sorry if you've been treated with that. But again, we're back on the VBS Show. As I said earlier, we've got an author, a wonderful book who's really hits our new ways here, the All Screwed Up book. We have him with us today, Micheal and Nsonwu. Hello there and welcome. Hello. Thanks for being with us today. Hi. As I said, mixed-race prison officer tale.
Yes.
Yeah. Micheal, tell us a little bit about your background so we can get the total picture and then how you actually got into this particular career path.
Oh, well, my name is Micheal Nsonwu. I was born in Scotland and I left Scotland when I was about 2. I had my formative stages in Nigeria and came back to this country in '86. Eventually, after going through certain job parts, I ended up in the prison service with an ulterior motive to actually help people, help convict and all that. Because I come from a police background, actually. My father was a cop.
Okay.
Yes.
But then hearing your father's a cop, why didn't why didn't you go into the Metropolitan Police at that time?
Well, I already, I'd already had my sort of experience of the cop side of things. And I wanted to actually explore other possibilities in law enforcement, something like the prison service.
Interesting.
Which sounded very daunting at the time, but,
You went for it.
I went for it, yes.
And this book really is very candid, very detailed.
Yes.
And okay, we're going through the vision, the journey with you, so you decided to take this career path, and so go for it.
Oh, well,
was that in London, or was it?
Yes, it was in London. It was actually, I was, after the prison service training, I was posted to Pentonville Prison, Her Majesty's Prison Service at Pentonville. And I was there till, unfortunately, this incident happened that made me leave the service.
You need to, if you can, let our viewers know about the particular incident. Of whatever you can, without giving away too much, which is in the book, but so we can get the scenario.
Yes, unfortunately, I was attacked by my fellow officers, and I went. I thought I was part of a family, esprit de corps, and all that, and I went. I tried to get justice, and I couldn't. And which culminated in me writing the book about my experiences. It's all there in the book.
Right. So give us a little bit now about your experience there. You did say initially that you wanted to, if you like, I wouldn't say give support, but to actually, is that really to work with those who were actually prisoners at the time? You wanted to have an interaction with them. What was the vision? What did you...
I believe very strongly that corrective measures and rehabilitation in society is the way forward. I believe that as long as we can actually look after... I believe the prison is sort of like a microcosm of the macro society.
Right.
Because prisons are very intensive. They're supposed to be rehabilitative places where people are corrected and released into society. But unfortunately, over time, corruption has set into it. Rather than having that rehabilitative format, what we have is a warehouse dumping system, and this reflects on society. I'll give you an example.
Please,
we look at prisons and think we have these figures, like in Britain, we have figures of say 75,000 prisoners at a given time. What people fail to realize is that every day people go into prison, and every day people are released into society. So if you're not taking care of them while they're inside, what then happens is, if you go through a course of say 2-3 years, you might find out 1 million people have been through the system, and this impacts on society. This is why we're having what we're having in society today.
So, being someone who's been, if you like, on the front line.
Yes.
I mean, I know people who I've spoken to have said. I mean, I've spoken to police officers in my time, spoken to magistrates in my time, who have actually said that they feel totally uncomfortable to even be in that environment. Yeah. That they try everything not to even go to that particular place because the energy that's there is absolutely unbelievable.
Yes.
How were you able to really, move things on another level? I mean, being a single individual, by the sound of things, did you have like-minded officers who were with you on that same path to help make the changes?
Well, as at the time I was there, I mean, I'll say we were sort of like the pioneers, people who were breaking into the system. When I started with the prison service, for example, in Pentonville at that time, when I actually started, there were about 6 black officers. Today the story is different. Today you have, you know, quite a few number more. So we were sort of like, you know, the ones that's trying to break into the place. We were there to make sure things were going well, make sure that, you know, that we could actually, you know, because you hear stories of racism, you hear stories of all sorts of things. So we're there to sort of represent the other side of it,
right?
You know, and make sure things were equitable and fair.
But what did you actually meet?
This is what I tried to do.
What did you meet, and what are the things that, if you can say, that you tried to implement? Because, of course, like everything, there's a hierarchy system.
Absolutely.
And I'm just wondering, on that scale, was there any people of colour who was on that scale in a particular position that they could help to make the changes? So obviously, if you're not in a position, then you're not able really to make that change. And was it the changes with the officers, or was it changes with the inmates that you were trying to implement?
I'll say with everybody, because you know, the prison system being the way it is, I believe is the sort of last bastion of racism, because you know, it's such a closed society. People hardly know what's going on inside. So, you know, you had to be, you had to have that, I mean, you know, you had to rely, I mean, it's such a dangerous place. You had to rely on your fellow officers for your safety and all that. And for that to then happen, for them to then attack you, was unheard. In fact, it's even unheard of.
Was that verbally or also physically?
No, actually, it was a physical attack.
So physical attack?
Yes, I was mob attacked.
Well, I mean, I'm just wondering, now please viewers come through if you want to have a first-time conversation with Micheal here. But Micheal, we're glad that you're with us today because you've been very candid. And of course, many of us are in, because recently there's a magistrate who we are still on that case, a woman who I think is in Enfield at the minute. We're waiting for that case to be over, and hopefully she'll be on our seat to tell us a bit more details regarding that. Is it really, would you say, is it an opportunity angle still, though, for people to be able to go into? Because what you hear people saying is that if you want to fight racism or if you want to make changes, you need to be on the inside, confront it.
Yes.
Now, you actually took that approach. At the end of the day, you're now out of it. Why didn't you still continue? I mean, okay, physical, but still, did you not get any aid support that you can actually fight it?
Well, I couldn't. I mean, like I said, I mean, you know, a prison is like we discussed earlier. It's one of the most negative places on earth. I mean, every single person, especially the inmates, your clientele, do not want to be there. So automatically, what you're having is from the very minute you walk in, you have resistance all the way. So it's. I mean, to a certain extent, we used to, you know, live alongside the prisoners with a, you know, general amount of goodwill. And what you're trying to do is trying to impact some positivity into their lives, take advantages of whatever package is there, whether they're educational, whether they're sporting, whether they're this, channel that energy into something productive. Because I believe very, very strongly that if you go through with a rehabilitative format, you will, you know, in due course be helping society.
Right.
I strongly believe that.
You believe that, but obviously we have to be, we're very conscious now that when somebody do go through that judiciary system, especially our young people, our community, we don't necessarily welcome them that easily, and they're not able now to go into jobs and so forth. So, I mean, I know that I myself have a lot of frustration regarding that, because I do feel that someone has done their path, depending on it, they should be able to get jobs, because then they're going through that cycle again.
Absolutely.
But you've noticed here, you said a mixed race.
Yes.
What's the thing regarding that?
Well, it's a recognition of both. I mean, I had a Scottish mother and a Nigerian father, and you know, I am loath to take sides and say I belong to one when I do belong to both. And I look at it, I encompass both of them. You know, my DNA is both of them. So that's the way I look at it.
But when you were in a role as a prison officer, do you think that you probably came after, were you more even attacked, more abused? Because a lot of people, I know that in the British system, sometimes they feel, some people who are probably white, they feel more comfortable with just people who are one ethnicity rather than both, because they can't even sometimes cope with the fact that people are able to care for each other and to love. So at any time, did you pick up that the fact that also that because you're a mixed race, that you were even more penalized by particular people?